Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about radio's digital sales strategy for 2023. Today's webinar's agenda is going to talk a little bit about the next year and what we expect to happen in the industry. We'll talk about the importance of having a digital strategy in order to be prepared for the challenges ahead. We're going to identify 4 individual phases that radio goes through when they go through their transformation, and you may actually identify with 1, 2, or all 4 of the individual phases. We'll talk about some of the hurdles that you are experiencing as you are trying to transform your business and some of the key learnings that other people have made that you can take away from today's presentation and apply them right away. And then we're going to end the presentation with a start and talking about the first things that you should do if you're initiating a digital transformation or you're looking to grow your digital exponentially, and some of the key things that you can do right away in order to be effective with your campaigns. First and foremost, though, I want to introduce ourselves. My name is John Stewart. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Socast. I've been in the media business for about 22 years. About half of it I was actually working in radio specifically as a digital manager in the early 2000s, helping program directors connect to audiences and helping sales teams sell the first initial banner ads and leaderboards and Facebook ads. I moved on after about a decade and took a senior sales role, managing about 40 account executives across multiple markets and helping them transform their business into a more holistic digital agency style type of business. I really do believe myself as being a positive change agent. I love being able to look at a business and helping others understand what they need to do in order to affect positive change for their organization. And I'm applying that today with today's company at Socast. And also applying that with my right-hand person, Robin Ray Denham. Why don't you tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Robin Denham. I'm the digital strategist here at Socast, aka John's sidekick. And I have spent the last 15 years or so of my career working with large and small media companies all across Canada. A lot of self-deprecating jokes on the air and off the air, but also helping radio brands and their advertisers make an impressive impact with digital content and marketing. So given that and my background and passion with digital, in 2018, I took my digital ball of knowledge and I launched my own digital agency so I could work with a variety of unique businesses. I also managed our radio teams on how to produce and effectively market online content and online strategies. So with my radio background and having this big passion for digital and really getting excited about how quickly it all moves, that eventually brought me here to Socast.
And if this is the first time you've actually attended one of our webinars, we want to welcome you, and we want to tell you a little bit about Socast first and foremost. So we are a digital marketing tech company that's based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We work with many different broadcasters across North America, and in fact, a few in Europe and a few in Africa as well, but our primary base is in North America. We support the broadcast industry by providing software, consulting services, sales training, programming training, as well as media buying for third-party digital media. And overall, we power more than 1,700 radio brands across the world that use Socast from either a website, an app, or a sales perspective. So we've got a lot of depth of knowledge in the radio industry and the digital industry, and we're marrying the two together. We know that as a radio station, managing our websites and managing our sales campaigns for our clients is an incredibly complicated beast, and we call this slide our octopus slide. The number of tentacles that sort of connect between all the individual platforms that we're working with or all the individual workflows, it really is a headache for a lot of our radio partners. What Socast does is we actually try to simplify that process by providing easy to use simple dashboards that can actually just give you one login to access all the third-party digital that you're selling, your CRM, your billing systems, and on the programming and promotion side, all the elements to get your website up and running and to communicate with your listeners on a regular basis. We do so by making sure we have a connected platform. We provide a connected platform that eliminates a lot of the siloed systems that you've probably developed over the years. As your business continues to evolve, you bring on new vendors and they're all disjointed and they don't talk to each other. We have a platform that works well with absolutely every vendor that you may be working with. We're also incredibly flexible. We want to make sure that we provide a solution for your needs. So our solutions are not simply out-of-the-box solutions. They're not one-size-fits-all solutions. We are designed to be a flexible company and very nimble as we hear your feedback and your changes as your business continues to evolve. We also focus on increasing the productivity of your sales and programming departments as well. You hire salespeople to do one thing, and that's to sell, and a lot of administration work is not their focus and not their key strengths. Our software and our entire philosophy is about making it easier on them to go out and secure that piece of business and find the next client and moving forward. Before we get into the guts of today's presentation, I just want to thank you for joining us live, and we've got a near record number of people who've registered for today's webinar. So we know that digital sales is an important thing that a lot of you are thinking about right now and planning for the next year that's upcoming. So thank you for taking a little bit out of your time today. If you are unable to make it and you are watching it in the future, I want to say hi to everyone in the future, and I hope I have a jetpack and a flying car as well. But this is going to be available on our website and available through YouTube if you're wanting to watch it at a later time. At any time, if you have questions, you can drop them in chat. And Shay, our lovely account manager, is currently watching chat and will let us know if there are any questions. Or if you want to be anonymous and just want to flip us an email, you can email us at reach@socastdigital.com. Or you can even book a consultation or a demo at our website at socastdigital.com, and we'd be happy to spend some time one-on-one with you in the future. So let's get into the guts of today's presentation. Radio's digital sales strategy for 2023. It is crazy that next year is coming very fast. The radio industry is looking good for the next year. S&P Global's Market Intelligence Report, which just came out about a month ago, has very good news for local broadcasters. After the pandemic, it seems that local radio revenue is rebounding and expected to grow this year by about 5% and about 3.8% for 2023. Digital is expected to be a large contributor to that growth, about 6% growth in digital in this year and about 4.8% growth for the next year. All of this is despite the looming recession concerns, and the advertisers that I talk to on a regular basis are really worried about what the next 3 and 6 months could mean for the economy and for their businesses. Some of them are holding on to their pennies a little tighter than normal. So despite all these looming recession concerns, we're still predicting that local radio will continue to grow for the next 2 years. Whether or not it recovers from all of the losses that happened during the pandemic, that's a whole other story, but at least we're moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, though, it is not all good news. There is bad news in this report. The recovery is expected to be fairly short-lived and partial in a lot of cases as national advertising continues to shift away from radio and digital streaming audio services and podcasting alternatives. So if you work with national or regional agencies, you know that they may have bought 100 markets deep before. Now they're only buying 50 markets deep, and you may have been market number 51 or 52 on that list, and you're no longer on those buys. So that whole business model is shifting very much under our feet, and we have to find alternatives to replace those dollars from a business perspective. And a lot of local radio stations are investing in digital in order to do so. Digital investments point to future growth opportunities with the spot ad market, and radio is expected to decline. So that's going to fill that gap that you're going to be uncovering in the next couple of years. The alternative, though, is putting your head in the sand and ignoring the change that's happening around you. It could have dire consequences. If you're surrounded by lions, don't be an ostrich. Don't put your head in the sand and ignore what's going on behind you or beside you, because you could get eaten by others. And in order for you to actually see and get prepared for the future that is coming, you need to have a digital strategy that's proper, it's accountable, it's realistic, it's one that actually has some accountability built in. First and foremost, when it comes to having a digital strategy, is to understand that digital complements and not competes with your existing radio revenue. We hear this from a lot of broadcasters that they're not sure if they want to pitch digital because it opens up a door that the client may go down and they may not buy their radio campaign anymore. If you believe that, then you don't believe in your own radio station and its value to your clients. So understand that you can use digital to expand your digital sales, not just swap dollars. Having a digital strategy that's proper and realistic can also help you grow the share of your marketing budget from your clients. The best sales reps in the world don't have 100% of their clients' marketing budget. I guarantee that there's dollars going to some other medium or some other place that you could be potentially attacking. And if your actual campaigns provide ROI to a client and they can actually say, hey, for every dollar I'm spending in marketing, I'm making $3 back, there's really no budget at that point. It's all about scaling that marketing up and continue to grow that business by doing effective marketing. I've also come to realize in a lot of cases that by adding in digital to your solutions, you will actually retain clients a lot more. It's harder for a client to cancel their search campaign when they know that that search part of their business is driving a large part of the audience to their website and a lot of their lead generation as well, where other mediums that aren't necessarily tied to an ROI are going to be the first on the chopping block. So having a digital campaign as part of your marketing strategy with your clients definitely helps with client retention. Can also very quickly become a full service digital agency with the proper tools and training. And we're going to talk about agencies and their friendliness or lack of friendliness in the future here, but ultimately you want to be a solution provider to clients and finding those solutions for those individual needs. By having all the tools available to you, you can actually be a lot more effective. Ultimately, though, you can continue to ignore digital at your own peril. You can be that ostrich if you'd like, but your competitors aren't, your advertisers definitely aren't. And when it comes to competitors, one of the big names that we hear everywhere is Town Square. And a lot of us may be in markets where Town Square is in market, and we look at them and say, you know, they're having some success. And in Q2 of this year, in the early part of August, they released their Q2 results, and they're beating everyone's expectations. Net revenue up 14%, EBITDA up 7%. This is all coming from digital. Digital growth has accelerated, more than 20% growth year over year in Q2 and 16% in Q1. Half of their digital revenue is coming from digital at this point today. With that really solid foundation, they're set up for future growth. They're set up to be recession-proof. They're set up to look at the next phase of their development. And we could all be Town Square to a limited sense in all of our markets. Really, that evolution of how we are today and where we're going is an ongoing challenge for us. Generating substantial amounts of digital revenue can take time, and especially it takes real commitment from you and your sales teams in order to make those dollars happen. Real change can also be very difficult, and in some cases requiring very tough decisions in terms of the product mixes that we are selling, or even sometimes the people and the roles that we're currently using in order to generate the revenue that we need. Thankfully, a lot of us have laid out the roadmap in which we can follow, and we can learn from their mistakes and highlight their successes and borrow or steal from their successes in order to make them our own as well. So that roadmap is laid out for us in a lot of cases. In terms of that roadmap, you know, in my experience and Robin's experience, we've really identified 4 individual phases that a company goes through in terms of their digital change. And I'm going to hand it off to Robin to walk you guys through it.
Sounds good. So if John, you want to flip to the next page, those 4 phases, and I love these little graphics here, but we typically see sort of 4 types of people when it comes to selling effective digital marketing campaigns. So phase 1, you've got your digital infants. Phase 2 is your digital toddlers. Phase 3, getting a little bit more experienced and experimenting a bit, your digital teenagers, and phase 4, your digital adults. So a lot of confidence in the space and selling actively. So just to expand a little bit on each of these categories, and for those of you who are watching, you may be able to identify sort of where you are and which phase you're at, and hopefully which phase you want to be at and to grow to, which is a digital adult. But for our digital infants, we are all an infant at one point, and I think that's something that we all need to acknowledge. We all have to start somewhere. We all started in the radio broadcast industry somewhere, or in the media industry somewhere. For me, it all started because brands were really starting to actively have a social media presence, and that was very exciting to me. And of course, technology and digital, it moves very, very quickly. So we all start. It doesn't mean if you're just starting now that, you know, everybody's too far ahead of you and you're not going to be able to keep up. I think it's just to keep your expectations in check. Starting is the main part. These digital infants, I would say, sometimes lack commitment to change. John, you want to expand on that one a little bit?
Yeah, as a baby, as an infant, you don't know the outside world, and sometimes you're not really committed to it. You pay a little lip service to say, yeah, digital is part of it. I have met broadcasters as recently as even a few weeks ago who do believe digital is a fad and digital will go away. And we don't try to laugh in front of them, but ultimately, you know, that's a lack of commitment. That's a lack of actually understanding the world around you. That's definitely being an ostrich. So digital infants do have that ability of getting over themselves and understanding what the real future path looks like at this point.
The next point is just sort of a lack of accountability. You'll hear a lot of AEs or account managers say, you know what, I'll just sell more radio. I don't need to sell digital. I'm not interested. And usually that's a sign of somebody who's just sort of, uncomfortable in the space, doesn't know enough, again, is quite a digital infant at that point. Often digital is treated as a value add to radio. So these are the types of people who are thinking, well, I'm going to sell the full-fledged radio campaign and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of digital here and there. I might sell maybe a banner here or there on our owned and operated sites, but really it's never really a primary focus or objective to sell digital on a grander scale. So really just using the low-hanging fruit here. Clients buy based on placement rather than results with little to no reporting. John, I know you have some great comments on this one.
We actually find a lot of our clients will buy on ego. Those clients who feel that they can be the best radio announcer and voice their own commercials are essentially buying on ego. And when it comes to our websites, we will find that some clients just want to see their logo on a page and they check a box to say, well, I'm doing digital marketing if that's the case. Well, how many people are actually seeing that logo? How many people are actually seeing that banner? Sometimes radio stations hide the results and don't want to show you how many or how few people are actually watching and seeing those ads. So when you're a digital infant, you're taking those baby steps, but you're not necessarily providing value to your client at the end of the day.
The next point is sponsorships, events, promotions, and your contesting. It's a way of sort of bulk offering digital to clients. And again, I will say it's somewhat of a low-hanging fruit. It's sort of the easy way out. You don't want to have to expand and explain, complicated channels or products in digital. It's just sort of a simple, easy add-on, and it's bulked in with everything else you're trying to offer for the radio station. And this particular digital infant is likely selling less than 5% of revenue in digital, selling less, 5% less in revenue in digital. So the rest of it is probably, again, your radio sales and whatnot, but digital is really not the biggest concern, and you might be selling 2, 3, maybe up to 5%.
Yeah, single digits anyways, and infants aren't totally committed. Like we said earlier, they are getting some successes, but it really is not enough for them to actually build a business upon. But eventually, as we all know, as parents or uncles and aunts, eventually infants become toddlers, and the next phase continues.
So digital toddlers, this is where the desire to change starts and the accountability starts, which is great to see. You really start to learn and dive in, but still feeling not so confident about things. You don't have all the answers to all of the digital questions. Your toolkit evolves to include a little bit more advanced products, owned and operated display, let's say, maybe your pre-roll on your stream on the website. So you're starting to get a bit more comfortable selling digital, probably on your own platforms. So the digital toddler tends to take the everything is a one-size-fits-all package. Like we said before, this is sort of I'll just offer all of my advertisers a $2,000 campaign, and it's going to be on the owned and operated site or a pre-roll, and that's really it. And you'll just sort of copy paste for each individual advertiser, where as we find every advertiser is so incredibly unique, and they need a unique strategy to really accomplish their business goals at the end of the day. Staff have digital responsibilities. So this is your hosts and your promo team could be examples of some of your other staff members who are posting on the digital platforms on the website. Your hosts might even have sort of an influencer campaign or whatnot. So you're sort of divvying up the digital responsibilities between some of the other staff members at the station. Your sales teams have small digital budgets and potentially digital incentives on commission. So this is where, again, the accountability sort of steps in. There is a little bit of an incentive to sell digital, but it's not large. The budget is small. So you're not really needing to put in a whole lot of effort to reap the rewards, even though I believe that the rewards are large, but you have to set the bar at a decent level to help your staff want to actually sell digital. And then your small owned and operated traffic limits your ability to grow digital exponentially, less than 10% digital. So at least we're getting up, we're a little higher than 5% now as a digital toddler. It again, owned and operated is very much limited to just one website or perhaps, you know, a few websites in the broadcast cluster, but that's really it. So you're sort of capping out at your owned and operated and not looking outside of the box.
If your website only gets about 10,000 page views, that's not a lot of revenue generating opportunities for you as well. So you've reached that ceiling. And once you reach that 10% threshold, all of a sudden you start asking more questions and you develop a little bit more, and you eventually become our favorite phase, a teenager, and we begin to experiment as teenagers. So Robin, let's talk a little bit more about digital teenagers.
Yeah, of course. So this is where you're really starting to build your confidence and feel your way through digital. So it's more less talking about digital, but really more showing the action and the results and proving to your advertisers, here's what I can do for you, and here's really the impact that I can have. This person may be your first digital only hire. We are seeing in a lot of our broadcasters, somebody who is connected digitally, keeping up on trends, and helping the rest of the staff sort of move through the digital landscape as it really, you know, continues to change. So this person is keeping up. They're aware, they're interested, they're passionate about it, and they ask the right questions. This person is investing in a lot of digital training for themselves and staff. We love to hear this, whether we're the ones training them or they're getting it from other sources. You can learn about digital all over the internet. There's so many wonderful resources. And so this is where, again, you are keeping up and you're Googling, you know, questions about specific channels and how they work and how they function so that you can take that information and bring it to your advertisers with your expertise. The next one is sales reps have large and reasonable budgets. So there is an expectation to sell digital because you have the confidence to sell it. You know the effect that it can have for your advertisers, and you can show that ROI. So this is where your budgets start to get larger, but also your pockets start to get a little larger as well.
Not everyone would agree their budgets are reasonable. I've heard this from more than a few AEs over the years, but ultimately you have to put a line in the sand somewhere, and you need to be growing your business pretty fast. So those large budgets can come pretty fast and furious.
A digital teenager's campaign focus is usually on the client and their objectives, not necessarily how much money am I going to make off my owned and operated. So this is where you see sort of a mind shift of how can I absolutely do the best and get the biggest return on investment for my advertiser, and what does that strategy look like, and how do I do that? Digital teenagers selling on CPM and impressions. So that's rather than sort of a flat fee sponsorship, including third-party digital. So really based on results versus just sort of a flat fee. Here's what we can offer you, you know, within the package or the bundle, essentially. Some of the campaigns that you would be selling as a digital teenager may be long-term, mostly transactional.
So that would mean essentially that, you know, they're coming in and buying a flight. They're buying a month-long campaign. They're not buying 12-month campaigns. And we all know that advertising should be a 12-month enterprise. It should run 365 days a year. You have your peaks and you have your valleys, but in order to build that brand awareness, you always have to be in market and be ready for when people are willing to buy your product. So we need to shift away from transactional and more long-term selling.
And of course, as a digital teenager, you're really starting to know your stuff. You're probably selling between 10% and 30% in digital.
And most of the partners we work with at Socast are in this digital teenager phase. They have got their feet wet. They understand a little bit of what they're doing. Their AEs have budgets, and they're starting to sell some long term. They're adding some third party digital, and this is actually a fairly lengthy period of time as a phase. You know, 10 to 30% of your dollars coming from digital. So it could take some time for you to progress from being a digital to actually becoming a full fledged adult. But this is the ultimate goal that I think every radio broadcaster wants to see.
Yeah, so a digital adult, again, that is the goal. Your sales teams are selling long-term strategies, effective strategies, rather than, you know, these sort of packaged one-size-fits-all deals. A lot of information goes into that too. A lot of research into your advertiser and their needs goes into that. And you become sort of a consultant with the knowledge that you have learned in digital rather than just sort of a product pusher. And I think that's really important also to build trust with your advertisers. You meet regularly with your clients, and results and optimizations. You understand the metrics that are coming through in these digital campaigns, and you can explain that, and you can also optimize with that information to even, bring a better strategy during the renewal with that advertiser. A digital ad owns a large share of the client's marketing budget. So this is sort of I think a really important point that John had sort of touched on earlier. Is a lot of the time, if you're just selling radio, you're likely not capturing the entire marketing budget of that advertiser. Whereas when you sell digital, when you have the opportunity to have a larger umbrella of products that you can offer, being radio, you're owned and operated, and then you have, a magnitude of digital products, you become sort of a digital agent yourself, or a digital agency almost. And so you tend to start pitching campaigns that include all of the above and capturing a much larger percentage of the overall marketing budget of your advertiser. And a sizable amount of digital adults clients are digital only. They understand digital. They understand the value it brings to their business. And so this is a really great, healthy place to be in digital marketing with your sales.
You have businesses who may not want to buy radio right off the bat, but actually coming in with a digital presentation and showing what you're able to do. Eventually, you work your way back into selling radio to those digital only clients as well. I've known a few broadcasters who don't like having digital only clients, and I'm like, any client is a good client at the end of the day. I'd rather take part of their money rather than having none of their money, and then eventually having the conversations about radio too. Robin's point about being a consultant, being that trusted advisor as well.
And a digital adult, you're getting up into the nice figures here. Your revenue is probably about 30% or higher in digital sales. So a really, really nice complement to likely the radio ads that you're selling as well.
And those are roughly the 4 phases that we've identified for anyone's digital transformation that they're going through. We all were infants, and we don't want that to sound like it's diminutive or we're putting an infant down. We all were infants at one point, but eventually we all have to grow up, and we all have to pull up our pants and move forward and try harder things and do more difficult things. And as we all know, adulting is hard, but adulting has all the benefits out of it as well. So let's talk a little bit about some of the hurdles and why some of those transformation, why some of those moving from phases is a little bit more difficult than others. And this is one we hear a lot from our broadcasters is, my market is too small for digital. There are 2 furniture stores in my local area. One's Joe, one's Bill, and everyone knows Joe and Bill. Well, Wayfair comes into town or Amazon comes into town, and all of a sudden the furniture business is disrupted. So it really doesn't matter the size of the market. Everyone is going through some form of digital disruption. And what I found is that small markets can very easily become digital powerhouses. And I know way too many large markets, radio stations, metro radio stations, who are still stuck in that infancy stage. They still are a baby in the digital transformation. They still lack the commitment, they lack the accountability, and they're paying lip service to digital. So I find that market size really is not a real good hurdle or a good excuse for you not to transform. And in fact, smaller markets have a benefit of having limited competition. There may be one other radio station or another radio station group, or if you still have a newspaper in your local community, maybe they're trying to do some digital things as well. You have an opportunity of becoming an early mover. I think the days of first mover advantage when it comes to digital marketing are over, but if you only have a few competitors in your market, you can be one of the first ones to bring these sorts of tools to bear with your clients. And digital can scale with the client needs and the size of the audience that they're trying to appeal to as well. So, a campaign in Chicago may be several thousands or several tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, where a digital campaign in a smaller market may only be a couple $100. And the results are reflective of the investment that you're spending at the same time. Another big thing, and Robin and I hear this often, is digital is a competitor. I do not want to pitch digital because I don't want to give Mark Zuckerberg any more money. Well, we may not like Mark Zuckerberg, but he's got a lot of money already. And unfortunately, this is one of these hurdles that I think a lot of radio salespeople have, that they will lose the radio buy if they introduce digital solutions as something else. As I said earlier, if you are really worried about digital being a competitor and that digital provides more value to your radio station, you need to look hard and long at your own radio station and try to understand your own value that you provide. local radio is one of the best local mediums for building awareness with a specific audience, a specific demographic that the music appeals to. And that should not change when you add digital to those campaigns. You could be adding in new audiences that you aren't necessarily serving with your radio station. You could be looking out of market as well. I had a radio broadcaster come to me a little while ago complaining about a campaign that he was signing off on because it was a big bill. It was a large campaign, but it was for 3 markets that radio station group does not actually have a radio station in. So we were able to find new audiences in 3 other markets. And if they didn't pitch digital, they weren't going to get on that buy. So again, I'd rather take something of that dollars rather than giving it to someone else at the end of the day. Most clients do buy multiple mediums, and I don't know any client who puts all their eggs in one basket. And I don't think we would ever recommend a client to put all their eggs in one basket. They're probably buying outdoor from someone else. They're probably buying another radio station or a TV station or still a newspaper in some of your local communities. And clients are already interested in digital. You can't stop their interest at this point. The only thing you can do is be a resource and be that consultant that Robin talked about earlier, and making sure you're there. So when they have questions, they know that Mr. or Mrs. Sales Rep, you've been the person who they've reached out to or who they've talked to about digital over the years. And now that they're ready to buy digital, well, you can be that person who helps them along that process. I mentioned this earlier, digital does help with retention. At the beginning of COVID in the media industry that I was working in, my 40 sales reps, we saw a blip in our revenue. We took a pretty sharp hit pretty fast, but those clients who had a very holistic approach with us, a very integrated strategy with multiple types of medium, all ROI focused, they were the ones who stuck with us. Those who were just buying transactionally and simple flights, they were the first to quit and to cancel. So bundling definitely does help with your retention, especially during disruptive times. And I mentioned this earlier, but Facebook, Google, and Spotify and all the digital platforms that are out there, they're not going away. They are still going to grow their businesses. And even a Snapchat that may be popular for a period of time and then gets replaced with TikTok, we know that someone else is going to come along the path as well and going to be stealing away dollars that were rightfully yours before. So you can either play with them or you can try to fight Facebook. And I don't think any one of us individually is going to win versus Facebook at this time. So.
Just to add something, John,
Yeah.
I mean, we have some great research that shows that hearing and or seeing the message on multiple different mediums really just does enforce the message. It's a more holistic advertising strategy, where sometimes you'll have, let's say, a radio ad running for an advertiser, and then you have a graphic display ad that they see on the internet, later in the day, and it's just another way to reinforce the message that you're trying to capture.
100%. The more places that a person sees or hears that message, the more impactful that is, and that just contributes more results to the client's campaign. Another big hurdle that we've come across is I've given away digital for free. Up until recently, I've been just throwing it in as part of the radio buys. How do I come back from this? If you have not provided value in your digital solutions, you're going to have a problem. You have to start somewhere. You have to stop the free train. You have to realize that not all digital is equal. Not all digital is the same. So if you've been giving it away and it has no value, well, you've probably been pricing it appropriately. But you need to look at something different. You need to change up the conversation in some form. And if you add third-party digital, add a Facebook campaign, add a search campaign, add a Spotify or a YouTube campaign to your offerings to your advertisers, you can change that conversation away from free and value add and more towards valuable and more results-oriented conversations. Focus on those results, because ultimately clients don't buy impressions. They want to buy sales. They want to buy leads. They want to buy something else that has a really dramatic impact on their business, and impressions are a couple steps removed from that. And when you focus on those results, you may look at some of your products and say, this product doesn't work. It doesn't actually provide results. I know I've been selling these logos on this page, or this 50% off sale that I keep going back to my clients to give me gift cards for, and it's not working the way it was before. Maybe you need to make those tough decisions and say, rather than spending time on this, spend time on this instead, and this will be better for your clients and will generate more revenue in the long term. So that's one of the tough decisions that I think a lot of sales managers and salespeople need to have moving forward. This is a big one too, and another big hurdle that can happen, and sometimes a tough conversation to have is you may not be having the buy-in from your current staff, and costs for new hires can be incredibly difficult if you can actually find new hires. And I've talked to many radio broadcasters who have vacancies and are trying to find qualified salespeople to come work for them, and it's tough out there. We know that there's lots of reasons why people aren't necessarily wanting to work in radio or work in media or work for some of the roles that we have, but we need to look at trying to increase our funnel and have more people in our funnel just in case things happen. And we also come across a lot of cases where some salespeople will resist and don't want to change. And I've seen more than a few actively fight the change that's happening with them. So behind the scenes, they're talking to their peers and saying, this digital thing, I'm not going to do it because, you know, I know they're telling me that I need to sell it, but it's not for me. It doesn't work for my clients. It's just a fad, which again, we've heard recently. So those people you need to have tough conversations with and try to bring them to the light if you can. But if you're trying to replace people, you need to be looking at people with digital sales and marketing skills. And I want to stress the marketing component. Sales and marketing, especially in media, are two sides of the same coin, just looking at it slightly differently. But we need to hire more people with marketing skills who can sell and close rather than just simply salespeople who don't understand how marketing works. And having that fundamental shift in how you approach your clients will breed a lot more results moving forward. Those people are in demand though, because not only is other media companies hiring them, but clients are bringing their own marketing internally as well. And you're probably uncovering this in most of your markets where do-it-yourself digital, you know, the client saying, I'm going to take care of my own Facebook campaigns. I'm going to cancel my outward media. That's becoming more and more popular, and they're hiring marketing professionals to be able to manage that internally as well. Another hurdle that we find is investing in people is tough, especially when you can't guarantee that results will be happening overnight. So you got to get over investing in people is a long-term solution, paying your people an appropriate wage, an appropriate commission on the work that they're doing, and making sure that you're investing in training is ways that you build them up so they will help build your business up at the same time. And if you can't afford, you know, either to rehire people or to create new roles in some cases, there are third-party bolt-on sales support, and Socast is one of them. And we go along with a lot of our account representatives as a member of their sales team and help them in part of the sales process. So that can help you scale your business until you're ready to make more internal changes and hire more bodies and different types of roles within your organization. So finding an appropriate partner that can bolt onto your sales structure is a good way of overcoming this hurdle. We've also heard this. I've already worked with a partner. It didn't work. I tried digital before and it was just a complete disaster. I'd love to say not all partners are created equal. You know, we all approach things differently. Some of us have more experience than others. Some of us aren't in the radio industry and can't speak radio as well as others. So you've got to realize that you may need to find another partner at one point. Partner needs to be nimble and willing to customize their solution for your needs. Just like you customize the campaign for your advertisers, your partner needs to customize for your individual radio station's needs. You also need someone to bridge that gap between radio and digital. You've got a sales team that understands radio very well. They use radio lingo, but they don't understand what a pixel is. Well, you've got to find someone who can translate from radio to digital and back and forth again, so that you increase the knowledge transfer and you increase the overall confidence in your solution, because you're using language that everyone else already knows at the end of the day. And you need to find a partner that's invested in your success, someone who's going to work hand in glove with you all the time to make sure that your advertisers are successful, you're successful, and you're generating revenue in the right way, and willing to have those tough conversations when things aren't going well, and also willing to celebrate with you whenever things are successful at the same time. We've talked a little bit about the hurdles. Now let's talk about the keys to success, what you need to do in order to be successful in your digital transformation. And the first and foremost is embracing the change. Change is the only constant in this world these days, and the pace of changing is accelerating every single day. So we need to be aware that change is coming, and it's never too late, and you can start to transform anytime. Robin, do you want to talk a little bit more about this need of transforming at any time?
Sure. I mean, I had to do it myself. I feel like anybody in digital, it just, you have to at least get your feet wet at some point. And like I've mentioned earlier, it does really move quickly, but there's so much that you can learn. It is digital marketing after all, so you can find it on the web. You know, there are really great resources and I'm constantly learning. John is constantly learning, but really, I truly believe that there is, you know, there's never a time where if you start now, you're too far gone. You missed the train, you know. So I might as well not even try. With digital, I think, you know, the opportunity is there, even if you start small. So I wouldn't be too shy about learning the different products and you know, all the different ways they walk and talk. It's really quite interesting. And again, it's never too late if you ask me.
We have to reinvent ourselves every now and then. And to think that Facebook started its ads platform just 15 years ago, that seems like a blip for a lot of people. It's a long time for others, but Facebook upended the entire digital marketing ecosystem in 2007, just 15 years ago from the first Facebook ad. TikTok just came out a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden all of our advertisers want to talk about TikTok. So, you know, you can start at any time, because everything that's happened before is kind of useless. It's all about learning what is happening today and being prepared for where we're going from a future perspective. Comfortable is also something that we encourage people to look at. If you are uncomfortable, you're probably doing something right. If you're too comfortable, you got complacency that will set in. You won't be committed to the change that you have to bring about. So be prepared to be uncomfortable and be okay with that. Dive in and be willing to learn. So, you know, we're all learning as the ecosystem evolves, as new demands happen, as new technology comes on, as new rules and regulations appear everywhere about data and privacy, and we've got to pivot and move as things change underneath our feet. We also have to be comfortable with making mistakes. The wonderful thing about digital is it's all accountable. The worst thing about digital is it's all accountable. So ultimately understanding that mistakes can happen, it's all about pivoting and making sure that those mistakes are minimal and they never impact a client, and making sure we learn from our mistakes at the end of the day. And the only way we're able to learn is actually keeping an eye on results. So it's not just simply about the bottom line, but it's about all those metrics that go into making a sales presentation work. It's about all those metrics that help us close a piece of business. Things aren't working, to be able to identify that, fail fast, pivot, and
Oh, we may have lost.
fail fast, move on to try something different at the end of the day.
Sorry, John, you paused there for a second. You kind of.
We talked about this as well.
There. You're back though. You're good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh,
sorry about that. I do live in the middle of a forest, and my internet sometimes goes. The joy of working from home. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
We can see ya. I can see you still. I think try it out again. We'll see if we can.
Are we stable? Okay, we'll keep going, and hopefully we'll get through this fairly quickly. So another thing that we've talked about is investing in training, is actually investing in knowledge and trying to up your game and being more knowledgeable for your clients. So don't leave your sales teams unequipped for the fight that's going to happen in the streets. Make sure that they've got enough knowledge and they understand what good looks like at the end of the day. Develop a culture of continual learning. So what that means is you can't just simply do a webinar once a month or a sales training once a month and then not talk about the knowledge and talk about other things for the rest of the month. You have to constantly be investing in learning more, and sometimes your sales teams have to actually do it on their own, and sometimes it's going to be led by the manager or even an outside consultant that comes in and helps you with training. So make sure that learning is part of your DNA. Product knowledge is only part of it, though. You can understand how Facebook works from a systems perspective, but unless you understand how that works for your clients' needs, that's a bigger gap. And you got to train for all different aspects. We've done training with a couple different markets about their sales process and understanding how to prospect properly in 2022, or how to manage a sales funnel, or what creative to run for the campaign needs. So expand your knowledge simply beyond Facebook and what a pixel is, etc., and try to learn more as how digital marketing is changing. Dive deeper into the client needs. So understand what those needs are and understand how to identify those needs, about asking the right questions during a needs assessment and making sure that you're getting the answers that can help you create the right strategy for your clients. And I talked about this earlier, understand marketing. You're not just a salesperson, you're a marketing expert these days, and understand that the sales process can be longer, but ultimately if you invest more time into it, it has more rewards for you at the end of the day if you're more holistic and you're more of that digital agency that we all want to be. And there is no such thing as overtraining. You could do the same training over and over again, and every single time you're going to get something else out of it. So I've taken one type of training is spin training, about the specific questions that we want to ask. And I've done spin training every 6 months or so, and every single time that I've done that training, there's different types of questions I could be asking. And I apply it in a slightly different way because my knowledge is changing every few months as well. We talked about this earlier, and that's stop product pushing or package selling. I know packages are easy. I know you want to make it super easy for your sales team. So you create this nice, pretty little PDF that they can take out, and they can leave it on the client's desk or shove it underneath the presentation so that they never have to look at it and say, I pitched it. Or it's just a one-size-fits-all solution that we assume everything is going to work. But we do know in our heart of hearts that no two clients are the same. So why do we sell a one-size-fits-all solution? We need to stop selling packages and focus on those individual needs of the client, because one type of solution may be good for one problem, but another tool could be better at the end of the day. And finding that right tool is all about the strategy that we create for your clients. Packages are also short-term. Generally, they're only for small flights. Marketing, and great marketing, is especially long-term. It's about all the tactics working together with the same goal in mind, and packages just limit the amount of time and the overall strategy that we're bringing to our markets. They also limit your ask. I have seen so many clients who go out and sell a $1,000 package, and they come back to me and say, hey, I sold the $1,000 package. Aren't you proud of me? And I asked them, well, what was the client's budget? Well, the budget was $5,000. You didn't ask for the other $4,000? Like, could you have sold something else? Was there other needs that you didn't address in this? Well, I was trying to sell this package. Well, that's not being a consultant. That's just being a product pusher. And we don't need product pushers these days. The other thing is don't set it and forget it. So package setting is notorious for this. Is you check a box, I've sold the package, I've put the logo up, they're part of the contest, I'm moving on and trying to sell something else. Well, actually being a true consultant is about understanding the needs and understanding how we're always performing towards those needs and making sure that we're optimizing all the time. So we're not going to set it and forget it. And lastly, the thing that we always recommend is finding the right partner to help you scale. So as your business continues to evolve and you go from an infant to a toddler to a teenager to adult, you need to find a partner to help you along with that. Partners can help you lower costs in hiring new roles, especially in the early phases. And we talked about the bolt-on sales team. They can bring a full toolkit for you as well. So you don't have to have an operational specialist who understands how to book a Facebook campaign. You can find a partner that helps you with that as well. Partners also can help you with training and education through the sales process, and Robin does a fantastic job going out on sales calls and helping sales reps do their presentations. And after a couple, learn how to do that on their own, and all of a sudden you're getting more presentations out the door. So finding a partner to help you along with that process is a great way to start the transformation. Be invested in your client's success as well. So, as a partner like Socast, we want to make sure you're successful, and we constantly challenge ourselves to do better and trying to improve our performance to you guys. So find that partner that can actually help you scale and to be invested in your success as well. So we're near the end of the presentation. So lovely place to start talking about where to start. The first and foremost is to value your owned and operated solutions. We're not recommending that you stop selling your O&O. We recommend that you actually put proper value on your O&O and understand that by driving more people to your website, you're just going to get more value. But please stop giving it away. Please put real value on it. Start having conversations about digital and dollars at the same time, so that your client is not going to be frightened about the ask that you will eventually have to solve their problems. Also, make sure your owned and operated is a quality website. Like I've been to a lot of radio station websites. Mostly they work with competitors, not us. That the images are pixelated, or everything is disjointed. You don't see things where they should be laid out. So have a professional quality grade website so that you can actually put your best foot forward. Clients will look you up online, and they will visit your LinkedIn page, and they will visit your website. And if it looks bad, it's just not going to help you sell your campaign to that client. Realize that more page views is more inventory and therefore more revenue. So the more eyeballs you direct to your website, the more potential revenue that you will have for that website. So constantly work with your program director and your promotions people about how you can grow your digital inventory and how you can actually grow your audience on your owned and operated websites. But realize that it does have a ceiling. There's just going to be only so many people who visit your site on a regular basis, and especially if you're just doing contesting and your stream is your only valuable. If you're not producing news content on a regular basis, there's going to be a limit to the audience that you have. So you've got to look at other solutions beyond your O&O. And lastly, and this is a big thing here too, I think most broadcasters do this poorly, and some of them are our clients actually, is the advertise with us simply a form. They just have a give us your email address. So it's not warming you up in terms of why you want to advertise with you, or the success you've had with other partners, or showcasing testimonials. You need to build some guts to that advertise with us page and showcase your UVPs, your unique value proposition, so that client is more excited about dropping their email address to you or picking up the phone and giving you a call to help them out with their marketing. Collect data on your listeners. So this is another big thing I want you to start doing today. Digital marketing in 2023 and beyond is going to be about data and about collecting as much data as you can on people so you can effectively target them. And as radio stations, we're really good at collecting data, and listeners do trust us. We've built that relationship of trust with them, and they'll give you their email address and phone number, and for a contest or even to log in to stream your radio station, they'll give you that information pretty easily. And that's very powerful information that you can use to target future campaigns. They can also display interests. So you can actually get an idea of their purchase habits. What are they in the market for? So if you're running a contest giving away a brand new hot tub and you have 1,000 people who've entered that contest, that potential leads and 1,000 potential emails that you have to target another campaign towards. So think about the data collection that you're already doing and making sure that you're maximizing that and using it for other campaigns. But also make sure that you're getting an opt-in in all this data as well, so that there is a little checkbox that says, hey, I'm okay with being marketed in the future. And you've heard of the acronym GDPR if you're a European broadcaster or you actually do business in Europe. GDPR is something that everyone is concerned about, and that's the data privacy that Europe has put the rules and regulations around. So you need to make sure that you're keeping data appropriately and you're using it the way that you should. And lastly, on the data conversation is pixel your website. Drop a conversion pixel or a retargeting pixel on your player or on your website so that you can then build audience pools that you can use for future marketing campaigns when people come to you and they want to target just people who listen to your station or who have visited your website in the past. Optimize your staff. So we optimize campaigns, so why don't we look at all elements of our business and making sure that we're optimizing. Do you have the right roles in place for the future is a good question you should be asking yourself today. Do you have a Robin who can help you on your sales process and on your sales presentations? Do you need someone who's more dedicated towards that in the future? And those roles that you have, are they filled by the right people? Are they the right skill sets? Do they have the right knowledgeability? And are they committed to the change that's ahead of you as well? Make sure you reward the right behavior. So if you provided incentives for digital sales, just make sure that it's aligned with what you were trying to do, and you're rewarding either closing ratios or other metrics that may help you along the process as well. And you may have some tough decisions ahead of you to be successful. Not everyone is going to be successful selling digital sales, and you in some cases can't teach or can't encourage people or get them to get on board, and you're going to have to make some tough decisions. But the alternative is you continuing to languish and continue to be in an early phase of development, and you lose out on future growth as well. So as a leader, as a sales leader, as a broadcasting leader or a company leader, sometimes you have to make tough decisions in order to be successful. And to that point, this is a phrase everyone here has probably heard, good is the enemy of great. You may have good people. Do you have great people? How do you make good people great? And that's some of the things we talked about earlier, helping them transform from a knowledge perspective, providing them with a level of support they need to be effective, providing them with software that limits their administration work so that they can focus on selling. There's lots of ways of converting good to great at the end of the day. And yourself. This is an easy one, and I'm really saddened by the number of radio stations who don't practice what they preach. We tell all of our advertisers that marketing is a 24/7, 365-day enterprise, but we don't market ourselves. I mean, we could be marketing when we go through a format change and trying to get new listeners, but our presentations have changed. Our offering has changed on a regular basis. What are we doing in order to promote ourselves and promote that change that's happening? And if we're just relying on our AEs one-on-one, our salespeople to have conversations with clients one-on-one, that's not time efficient. That's going to take you a long time to get to every single business in your community. So advertise yourself and advertise what your solutions look like. If you're worried about your radio brand, or you may have multiple brands that you don't know which to lead with, also consider using your corporate brand instead of your individual radio brand. So some advertisers won't buy radio. They have a preconceived notion of radio doesn't work. they're wrong, but you need to be able to get over that as well. So sometimes using your corporate brand or even a brand new brand for a digital sales division is a way of getting into new doors and having different conversations. And lastly, but most importantly, we encourage everyone to start to talk to Socast. So talk to us about your phase of transformation, where you're at, the hurdles and keys to your success. We work with dozens of broadcasters at all phases of digital transformation. So we've seen it all, and we can likely help you in terms of how you can grow into the next phase. From infants to adults, our solutions work to break down those silos and increase your sales efficiencies. And all you need to do is just email us at reach@socastdigital.com, and we'd be more than happy to take your email and reply to your questions. Which is a good segue. So Robin and I have taken all of your questions, and there have been a lot. Like I said earlier, this is a near record for the number of people who've attended the webinar, and there have been so many questions. We have tried to consolidate them down into questions that have certain themes. So hopefully you can see your question is going to be answered maybe in a slightly different format. Not every question is something that we could have handled today. So we're talking about potentially doing just simply a Q&A webinar in the future and taking more of your questions, and hopefully you'll be able to attend that as well. But let's dive into the questions that we received today. So I'm going to ask Robin, what are your biggest digital marketing challenges that you're going to foresee in the next year?
That's a great question. I think obviously with the economic downturn that simply just affects your advertisers and their marketing budgets. So that can just be, I guess, a slightly more difficult conversation when you are trying to pitch digital. That would be the first thing that I would mention. I think limitations to targeting, data terms and conditions on some devices. You saw the iOS rollout. Sometimes that can kind of limit the amount of information and targeting information from a digital standpoint. So sometimes that can be a tough hurdle. Nothing that we're too worried about at this point, though. I think more competition just in general, because there is a lot of people, I would say most business models at this point are very familiar with how competitive the digital marketing landscape can be. So your competitors are likely also investing in digital, but I think it just takes the right strategy to come ahead in that game. And I mean, keeping up with technology, things are moving real quick, and especially since the pandemic hit, digital, everything went digital. Every type of business model felt like they were falling behind if they weren't somehow doing things digitally. We were all able to be on virtual calls. So just keeping up with difficult trends, it can be difficult because it does move so quickly, and you do have to do your research. So I'd say that's probably maybe some of the challenges we're headed into in 2023.
I'm going to take the next question because I get this one often. How do I get agencies to buy my website? And the reality is agencies are not your friends. I know you may have had a long-standing relationship with the agency. They've probably bought your radio station whenever they need you, but ultimately agencies' businesses have changed. They've realized that they can book the Facebook campaign for the advertiser, the Spotify campaign for the advertiser, the Google campaign, the YouTube campaign, the connected TV campaign, all of those they can do themselves, and all they need to do is hire an operations person to be able to manage that, and they make more money than selling their or working with a radio station at the end of the day. So they're trying to squeeze margins, and they're trying to make as much money as they can. So they're going to buy around you if you can. The only way that you can force an agency to buy your website is have something that only you have. And we talked about this earlier, and that's making sure you've got data on your own audience. And if you have that proprietary first-party data and only you have access to that, that's something that's valuable that they may want to give you a call and say, hey, I'm actually going to give you money because Facebook doesn't have that, or TikTok doesn't have that available to me. Robin, your experience in radio, you've been involved in monetizing radio content. What's the best strategy involved with that?
I don't know if there's one best strategy, because there's so many that you can try. It depends on your demographic, your niche, the type of music you're playing, I think. But something that a lot of radio stations are doing, and if they're doing it well, you won't notice it right away, but is integrating content into a host show that is actually sold. It's a verbal sold contract with an advertiser. And you can also take your own content on the radio. You can use your hosts as influencers. Put that, that type of content, and video content is obviously really performing well right now for radio stations. But put that on your website. You can have a podcast even after the fact. You can monetize that podcast with your morning show hosts. Organic content is still very, very important as well. And building, your brand will only make it more valuable for you to, again, sell it sort of to advertisers and partners. Garnering data with e-blasts and giving potential promos within your e-blasts from your advertisers. I think that hosts are so much more than just radio hosts who turn the mic on and do the weather. They're so much bigger than that now, and they're technically influencers, and you can use them for the purpose of helping your advertisers, but also selling your brand in a really, really efficient way. So I hope that answers the question.
I'll take this one. Clients are now asking for my radio rates and CPMs and cost per thousand. So we're used to CPP, cost per points or gross points, and all those other metrics. Now they're using CPMs. How can I avoid this? Probably you want to avoid this because you think your CPM is high. And as an extension of this question, we got a couple of them is, how do I sell against Spotify? How do I sell against programmatic audio or Pandora or other online radio networks? It's tough. People, especially agencies and now more and more direct clients, are used to having conversations about CPMs, and they're able to actually value different types of media in the same way. So they have a baseline comparison metric, and they want radio to be in the same way. You first and foremost need to understand what your CPM is. So take a look at the number of people who will hear one commercial and then calculate what your cost per thousand is for that commercial. And if it's outrageous compared to other mediums, you have to provide a value definition for that. So the fact that you're local, the fact that your islands are small, the fact that you potentially have category exclusivity on an island or other things that other broadcasters or other digital media don't have allow you to charge a slightly higher price. But you may have to embrace the CPM world, unfortunately, and that's just is understanding what your clients' needs are and making sure that you're working towards that. How do you sell against Spotify? It's tough. Obviously there is an element of the premiums subscription where people don't see ads or hear ads at the end of the day, but a lot of people do. More than 50% of Spotify's audience is using the free version of it as well. I would look at it as a way of selling with Spotify, not against it. So you can either increase the frequency. So if you're a classic rock radio station, you can then take that commercial and then extend it to the classic rock format on Spotify, and you're probably going to catch the same audience, and therefore you've got a bit of frequency in some form. Or just say you've got a format hole in your cluster that you don't have a hot AC or a CHR station, and you don't have a youth targeted radio station. Well, Spotify can help you reach those people as well. So look at it as an extension of your radio brand, not necessarily something that you're fighting against. Robin, what's the best-selling digital product?
Oh, there's not a straight answer to that question. I think the answer completely depends on the business model and the goal that they are trying to reach at the end of the day. I will tell you that Facebook and display are the most popular. That is where a lot of people are spending their marketing dollars at the moment. But best selling will definitely depend on what kind of business you're dealing with.
Yep. What business categories should I target for digital? So we hear this often, and I often have a very confused look on my face when I get this, because I'm like, every client, every category is someone for to be able to target with digital. I mean, if you're in those infancy stages and those toddler stages, you may think the internet's just about gambling or cannabis, and we've all been down that road in this industry if it's legal in your state or your province, and trying to find those local retailers, and we found that business model is completely not working anymore either. So the business category that you should target for digital is categories that have money. And specifically, categories are clients who you can actually have a defined ROI. So if they have a lead form on their website, they're probably a good category to target. They actually have a trackable mechanism of generating business through their website. They may not be an e-commerce site, an appointment form on their website, and that's a specifically really good type of category to target for your digital efforts. My client has bought digital. Where do I start, and what should their budget be? Robin, do you want to take this one?
Ooh, I mean, in my personal opinion, now this would obviously vary based on the advertiser, but I think that at least 5% of your gross sales should be in digital sales. So I would start with that conversation, and obviously taking your knowledge and trying to inform them of why should they start with digital advertising. Really show them the value of what you can offer. That's where I would start. What should their budget be, though? That is a tough question. Sometimes it's based on what they're comfortable with, but usually what we end up doing with our digital strategies and advertisers who've never done anything digital marketing whatsoever, we do start small, and I think really what comes into play is metrics and data. Once they start seeing, how their campaign walks and talks, the effects that it will have, all of a sudden they see people walking into their store, they say that they saw the ad, while they were browsing the news website in the morning. And that really, I think, builds retention and renewal in the future. So I know it can be daunting, but really, it doesn't have to be. You can start very simple. And again, like I said, the most popular products right now, and some of the more cheaper products, are your Facebook and your display, which don't have to be too scary. Start small, show the metrics, show the value, and build from there.
Mm-hmm. And having that rule of thumb of 5% of your gross sales should be your marketing budget, I think, is a good rule of thumb. But a better way of handling that question is just ask the question. Ask Mr. Client, how much money do you have set aside for marketing? What is your budget? And overall, not just for this campaign, what are you looking at to spend? And basing it on that can help you create a better campaign for them in the future. And our last question is one that we heard over and over again: is how do I make digital sales easy on my veteran sales team? So we've hired veteran salespeople, or we've nurtured a long-standing relationship with them for a very long time. They're in our business for really good reasons, and we want to make sure that we make it easier on them from an administration standpoint, from an effort standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint. Working with them hand in glove is important. Making sure that you, as a sales manager, as a sales leader, work with them in terms of their transformation, and hire people like Robin or other roles that can actually come along the sales calls to actually help them understand as they continue to transform their business. It takes some people longer than others, but I have met people who are years close to retirement or at that retirement phase. They've been in the business for 35 years, but they understand how marketing works. They understand their clients' needs. They do not understand how a pixel works or how the Google works, as some of them will say, but they ultimately know how to have that relationship. And if you're able to marry someone who can help them along that process, you've got the best of both worlds. So try to make it easy as possible. And of course, give Socast a call, because we're here to help you with your veteran sales team and all of your sales needs. And the last question, actually, I thought this was the last one, but we do have one major one, is what mistakes have you made and how do you grow and learn? And I've made them all. Robin, we probably made them all. We have had campaigns that have not fired because you've missed a start date. We have had campaigns that we thought an audience was going to be effective and it wasn't, or the creative messaging was going to be killer and it fell flat on its feet. So mistakes can happen, and with digital, there are so many steps in the process that can actually cause campaigns to malfunction in some form. What we do is we try to put guardrails around. So if something has happened, we actually meet internally about how we try to avoid that in the future. And is there a technical solution? Is there another solution where we could remove humans from the equation, because humans make mistakes and machines rarely make mistakes? So is there a way of making the software work better for that? And as well, what did you learn? So, hey, we learned this creative doesn't work. Let's make sure that we try something different as well. Admitting your mistakes for a client is not a bad thing. Telling your client at the end of a campaign that you've made mistakes is bad, but understanding the reports and seeing a live report ongoing and understanding that things aren't necessarily going the right direction is really important. So keep an eye on things and grow and optimize as you continue to evolve. I want to thank you. We're a couple minutes over today, and if you've made it all the way to today's end, we really do appreciate the time that you spent with us. Feel free to reach out to us at any time. Robin and I are waiting for your emails at reach@socastdigital.com. Again, thank you for joining today's webinar, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.